And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge Happy Hour Edition. I'm Anthony Irwin. Today on the show, as you can see, we are going to open up the mailbag really quickly. I'm going to dive into slop season because of today's date. Happy trade eligibility day for everybody who celebrates. And then I'm also going to preview tonight's game against the San Antonio Spurs, as well as make a couple picks on a busy night in the association. So let's dive on into it. I'm going to start with the mailbag that I asked. I asked some questions or asked for some questions on Twitter, and I got a couple. So first, at Jefferson writes, "Did you try for the Kobe's?" I did not. I have stopped trying for Kobe's. I think the entire thing is rigged, and maybe like one or two normal people get the shoes, and the rest of them go to influencers and super duper rich people, so that Nike can get to say and brag about their shoes or their company's exclusivity, which to me is indicative of a broken system and broken situation. But you know what? They don't seem all that interested in fixing it. So here we are, I guess. I do, however, love Kobe shoes. They are my favorite basketball shoe ever. And, it's a real bummer that a whole bunch of people basically just do not get to, benefit from those shoes and get to wear those shoes and experience those shoes in the same way that they did back when I was growing up, where, for me, it was, I used to be able to, go to a store on the day that a shoe released, and you would be able to, buy that shoe, and you would have to wait in line if need be, and you would have to, hope that they have your size, and sometimes wear the wrong size. But yeah, for what the shoe industry should be, it does not work that way, and it's a real bummer. So, to answer the question, no, I did not get them. I did not try. I am, disappointed in the way that all of this works now, and hope that it changes. It's not going to change. Next question comes from at Cali Reclined. Do you think the Lakers and or are/or interested in Lauri Markkanen or OG Anunoby? Markkanen, I didn't include him in my trade primer, which is what we are going to be talking about here in a second. Anunoby is included in there, so I will mention him in a second. But Markkanen, I don't see it. You would have to give up a ton to get him, and I don't know how well he fits with this, wing-based identity, right? You're going to be trading a bunch of wings to get him, and then essentially you are hoping that his shooting continues, and that's the only way that he and AD can kind of fit together. And I don't know. I'm so jaded at this point about shooters whose shot goes away, that I don't see that as a fruitful acquisition. But I will say this, though, there are guys on the Jazz who I think the Lakers are eventually going to be interested in or tied to. And so whenever that happens, we'll cross that bridge when you get there. But the Lakers, like, Jordan Clarkson is the name that I didn't write about in the primer. I did list him as like an also notable name in the article, which, by the way, you can find that article in the description of this show right underneath it. So first, obviously, subscribe to this channel and then go find that article, and it's free for everybody. I haven't written in a while. I explain it in the article why I haven't and why I'm hoping to be able to start to write a little bit more. But as I haven't written in a while, that article is free for everybody. So go read that, subscribe, and then subscribe here and subscribe to the pod and all of those subscriptions, please. I'll take all of them. But no, to answer the question, now, short version long, I don't see it with Markkanen, even if theoretically there is a bit of a fit there. the Jazz are going to be asking for the moon for him. And I just don't think the Lakers need to make a trade for the moon type deal right now. Last question here comes from @DadSports Tweets. Where does Gabe Vincent fit into the Lakers rotation when he comes back? I think we got a bit of an example of that, of what how Gabe maybe fits in. Is look, I wish that Russell and Reeves were a little bit more consistent this year, but they haven't been, right? Reeves started the year pretty slowly because he was clearly tired from FIBA play. D'Angelo Russell is just like an inherently inconsistent player. So I just think with with Vincent, I think he's a bit steadier than both of those guys because of how he plays defensively. So basically, if either of those guys are having kind of a tough night, you can throw Vincent out there and kind of steady and kind of settle things down. Also, he thinks about the game in a more traditional point guard way. And I think for stretches where you start to notice that AD or LeBron are not as involved as they should be, I think that's where Gabe can kind of go in and again provide that kind of steadying presence that reminds everybody, hey, yeah, those two all-world people that we have standing over there, yeah, we should maybe focus on getting those guys the ball a little bit more. So I think that is a far the best outcome, I think, for Gabe Vincent. And now the worst would be if Darvin starts playing Vincent, Reeves, and D'Angelo Russell together in any lineups. Like if I see that, I'm going to be pretty annoyed. He mentioned that back in the back before the season, and NBA or Lakers Twitter lost their minds. Like, you guys have all these wings, and you're still talking about those lineups. I was one of the people losing their minds. I would be pretty annoyed if that's how he is implemented or thrown out there. And as such, I don't really see it. Like the Lakers do that when you're like desperate to get talent on the court. And this team is nowhere near as desperate as last year's was to get that type of talent out there. So yeah, I understand why people are have a couple questions about it, but I think it'll work out pretty well. Gavin comments here below. I don't need any bigs who can't handcuff Joker or Jokic. Yeah, essentially. And if you are basically getting a player for a singular matchup, there's no point in paying what you would need to, like, you are going to pay a premium price for somebody like Lauri Markkanen, both because of his contract and because of how highly Utah thinks of him. And for what the Lakers need, it's not the best allocation of resources for me. I get why some might feel that way, but for me, that is an identity shifting move that the Lakers just don't need to make right now. Also on that trade front, Odanik writes, Rozier gets buckets and can handle the ball too. A little smaller, but so is Schroeder. Rozier is greater than LaVine in terms of player contract and movability. Earlier, they said, I don't understand why I'm the only person that sees Terry Rozier, his contract, and his team's current record and sees he's the answer to the problem. He makes quite a bit, like 20 something million bucks. And I'm concerned. Like, I just, again, does he fit with LeBron when he's on the court out there together? And I don't really see that particularly well, considering like he makes 24.5 million, I believe, this year. And if you're trading for him, you are trading Russell and you are probably trading like Taurean Prince and trading a wing for a small point guard. And, I don't necessarily see that there. But again, I think he is somebody who has been on the Lakers' radar before and will be on their radar heading into trade season. And look, that's a different, that's an important, I think, disclaimer to include on this entire conversation. The next part of this podcast, right, is that maybe I don't see, or I do see a fit, but the Lakers do, right? Or If the Lakers, there's a difference between me saying this is how the Lakers feel versus how I feel. And in this case, I know the Lakers are probably going to eventually kick the tires on Rozier. I personally am not as enthused about the fit. Speaking of that portion of the show, let's go ahead and get to it. But first, today's show is brought to you by the Sleeper app. Use that promo code LA Lounge to get up to $100 in a first deposit match. Again, the Sleeper app. Your promo code is LA Lounge, all one word. You can follow me at on Sleeper at Anthony Irwin LA, just like you follow me on Twitter. And yeah, you can have some fantasy fun with me on there. Oof, that sounded more risque than it actually was. We can make fantasy picks together on there. Fantasy fun with me. It makes this a very different YouTube channel. Today's picks that I looked at tonight, you have Joel Embiid scoring more or less than 34.5 points. I would go, he is playing against Detroit. They are terrible. I think Philly is going to blow them out. And as such, I would go fewer than 34.5 points. Victor Wembanyama, 2.5 blocks against the Lakers tonight. He had 6 the other night. I would go more than 2.5 blocks here for Victor Wembanyama against the Lakers team that does like to attack the rim. They're going to be trying to get him in foul trouble. And, one way to do that, right, the best way to do that is to attack the rim. Unfortunately, that means you're going to take some losses against such a talented young defender. And I think he will get more than 2.5 blocks. CJ McCollum against the Charlotte Hornets, more or less than 17.5 points. I think he's still kind of working his way back. He looked really rusty against the Lakers the other night. New Orleans does tend to do pretty well against, bad teams, and Charlotte is very much one of those right now. So, screw it. You can go with less for a 1.69 nice little bonus there on your money. And I think I would go over there. Have some fun. It's more fun to root for overs or more thans. Julius Randle against the Phoenix Suns, more or less than 24.5 points. I will go less than in this one. He does not play well in kind of higher staked games. He has not been particularly great this season, and I will put him at fewer than 24.5 points again for a decent little bonus there. 1.81 times your money if he gets fewer than 24.5 points. Also on there, you have Tyrese Maxey going for 24.5 points. That is where the more or less than is set. I would go more, as I think he will do really well against a really, really, really bad Detroit defense. I think he would be kind of the reason why they blow that team out. And Embiid might not play enough to score the 35 that he needs to get to for you. So I would go more than for Tyrese, and then for Clint Capella, more or less than a half of an assist. That's a fun one. That's more. Do it. Let's have some fun together. Again, use that promo code LA Lounge to get up to $100 in a first deposit match. One more time, that is the Sleeper app. You can use that promo code LA Lounge, all one word. Follow me on there at Anthony Irwin LA. And look, man, that's the best part of fantasy, right? Is you can make dumb little, picks like that Clint Capella more or less than assist one, and then brag to your friends when he accidentally tips the ball to somebody and gets that assist. So again, the Sleeper app at LA Lounge for your up to $100 first deposit match. Terms and conditions apply. See sleeper.com for /terms/referrals for details. Please play responsibly. All right, slop season. So I wrote about all of this for Substack today. And again, I would appreciate if you guys followed me on there, anthonyirwin.substack.com, and you could subscribe there. The names that I wrote specifically about today: Zach LaVine, Alex Caruso, OG Anunoby, Gary Trent Jr., Kyle Kuzma. And then I had some notes on like the Lakers' general approach to trade season. I'm going to go in order, in the same order that I have these names here. And first and foremost, Zach LaVine. It's this rumor that just won't die. But it, and everybody is very careful with how they present their information as it pertains to Zach LaVine, but he has no market out there. He's in the middle of a $200 million deal over the course that will pay him like $50 million by the time it's all said and done per year. And yeah, that is just not a contract that you want to give a guy that, as soon as he started sitting, the Bulls went on a 4-game winning streak. I think they've won 5 of their last 7, right, since he has sat. That doesn't, spell great things for his impact on the team. He has been rewarded for not particularly caring about defense, and doing the little things that help you win, like facilitating, for example. And, that makes me really nervous. And again, like the Lakers basically want to, if they are going to make a trade, I think their preference would be to trade a player or two to consolidate a very deep roster and a very deep rotation and bring in higher end talent up at the top of the roster. And in this case, in order to do that, the Lakers would have to send out like 4 people, like to just like to even match money. And so you're sending out like a half of your rotation for this guy who is not healthy at the moment, is injured a lot, makes a whole bunch of money, and you don't know that he's actually going to commit to doing the things that you need to win. And look, the Lakers do have success in the very recent past getting guys to commit to doing those things, right? Cam Reddish this year. But the difference here is that Zach is in year 2 of a $200 million contract. So if he doesn't commit to those things, screw it. He's getting paid anyway. But if like Cam hadn't committed to the things that he's doing this year that are really helping the Lakers, he could have been on his way out of the league. So you need that incentive. There just isn't that financial incentive for Zach. And as such, the Lakers, and frankly, most of the rest of the league, not all that interested in Zach LaVine. The next guy on the list here is Alex Caruso, who I wrote is like the antithesis to Zach LaVine. He makes a fourth of the money. He tries 4 times harder, just generally, and helps teams win like exponentially more than Zach LaVine has over the course of his career. So as such, the Bulls don't want to trade him. Coming into the year, I was told in pretty certain terms by league sources that the Bulls are not interested in moving this guy. And maybe that stance changes as they realize that their season is in the shitter. But as it stands, right, since Zach hasn't been playing, they've won 5 of 7, and an ownership group, Jerry Reinsdorf leads it, that does not like full tear down rebuild type situations. That group is not, I don't think, particularly interested in moving Alex Caruso. The other thing is Arturas Karnisovas is the guy who heads their personnel department in their organization from a basketball standpoint. He's been kind of a disaster. And the only thing that I think he has gotten right, really, while he has been there, has been Alex Caruso. I think you could maybe say the same for a couple stretches for DeMar DeRozan, but I think on net, that has not been a particularly fruitful signing. Caruso has been. He has been a great story. That city loves him. And so if Karnisovas trades Caruso, that would be an admission. Yeah, I screwed up, and I screwed up to the point where this guy, who was a grand slam signing, still wasn't enough to make this team even competitive. And now we head into a rebuild again. They haven't been relevant since, Chicago with a couple flutters here, or since Michael Jordan with a couple flutters here and there. And this most recent era, right, has led to mediocrity at best and hilarity for most of it, if you trade Alex Caruso, then you are just basically just, hammering home the point that, yeah, this whole thing is not heading anywhere particularly fast, and it would maybe cost him his job. So I don't see him trading Alex Caruso, and even if he does, the price that I've heard so far, and I wrote about this, the price that I've heard so far is one unprotected first rounder for Caruso, another lightly protected first rounder for Caruso, a young player, a legitimate role player on a good contract, and you're probably having to take one of their bad contracts, right? The one that I used as an example was Lonzo Balls, who I'm not positive is ever going to play basketball again. So, for Caruso, you are giving up the moon, and you are competing with basically every team that has title aspirations in order to land the guy. And as much as I would love to get him, and I still continue to kick myself or the Lakers for A, letting him walk, and B, not like trading for him last year when his price was significantly lower. Now his contract is incredible. He himself always helps teams win. And yeah, I would love to get him. And if they do, I think he turns this team into a championship favorite, but I think it would cost way too much at this point. And I don't know that the Lakers are as interested in carving out the team in the way that they would need to get him. Same kind of sort of goes for OG Anunoby. I think he would cost less than Caruso. He actually is on the trade block right now in the way that Masai Ujiri does put guys on the trade block where they're there, but you have to really, really pay up. The trade example that I used for him was sending Rui Hachimura, Jalen Hood-Schifino, Max Christie, and then you would probably need to send a protected first over to Toronto to get him. Probably some second rounders too. And man, again, that price is real high, and negotiating against Masai Ujiri seems to really suck. But if you get him and he stays healthy and like shoots even decently, I don't know how teams score against the Lakers with him on the perimeter, with Cam Reddish playing, defending the way he does, with Jared Vanderbilt capable of defending the way he can. Plus, you have LeBron and AD in those safety positions as they have been this year. It doesn't matter who the fifth guy out there would be. I mean, closing lineups would be Austin Reeves, and his defensive deficiencies would matter significantly less because of what everybody around him can do defensively. So, yeah, I love Anunoby. I think, he is going to be looking for a payday, and he's going to be looking for max money. I can understand why some people would pause at that idea, but for what he brings to the table and what he would mean to the Lakers specifically, where again, you bring him in, you bring in Caruso, and you are a title favorite. You can compete with the Denver Nuggets and the Boston Celtics and whoever. You can maybe even go into a series against Denver as a potential like slight favorite or pick them. And that would be a hell of an accomplishment to figure out with the acquisition of one guy here. And I think he would help you do that. So yeah, that is a guy that I really like. The Lakers, I know, really like him. We'll just see if Masai Ujiri even is interested in moving him. Also on that team, Gary Trent Jr., who would cost less and fits really well into what the Lakers need. I think like it legitimately bothers me how perfect Kentavious Caldwell-Pope would be for this team. And Gary Trent Jr., I don't think is quite as good as KCP and doesn't quite fit as seamlessly, but is a good like alternative to him, a very good alternative to him. I think he is a lot more attainable than OG Anunoby. I have the Lakers trading D'Angelo Russell and Maxwell Lewis for him. Plus, like I would imagine like a couple seconds or something like that. I don't think you need to touch any first rounders to get him. And again, like he just, he slots in there as your shooting guard next to Austin Reeves. He defends the other team's best perimeter player. Between the point guard and shooting guard, you also have Cam Reddish out there who takes their best wing, or Jared Vanderbilt who takes their best wing. He offers shooting and spacing, and he can do a few things even if his shot isn't necessarily going in. So Gary Trent Jr. is somebody who the Lakers have been tied to now for years, plural, and I think will be tied to them again this upcoming trade season. Lastly, Kyle Kuzma wants to be a Laker. Like I quoted that in the piece that Aaron and I have talked about that several times on the show. Kyle, I don't think I know Kyle never like demanded a trade or anything like that, but I do think Kyle welcomed the opportunity to go out there and showcase that he can do some of the facilitating stuff, that he can be one of a team's best players if need be. Now, how good the team looks if he is your best player is certainly a conversation unto itself. But I think he's gotten that, like he's experienced that, and I think he's ready to get back to winning. And also, like, very specifically, winning with the Lakers, right? He loved being a Laker. He loved what that did for his brand. And oops, sorry. He loved what being a Laker did for his brand. Sorry, I got a text from Jen and about Avery, so I will have to hop off here shortly. But yeah, I think Kuzma really loved being a Laker, really loved the amount of attention that he got for being a Laker, and was a great Laker. He's a Laker champion, knows exactly what the Lakers need for him to do, for them to be successful collectively. He is somebody that the Lakers would really like to bring back. I know they it was torn on whether they should move him at all in the first place. And now they have come to realize, right after the Russell Westbrook trade has been the disaster that it was, they've come to realize that, whoops, we traded 2 championship caliber players and got back something way less than that. And yeah, like it would, suck to kind of compound that mistake by sending more stuff over for the guy that they sent over there. But at the end of the day, you have to improve the team. And I think in this case with Kuz, you can get him for a first and, a couple young players. I have the trade looking like Russell, Prince, and Hood Schifino going to Washington to bring back Kyle Kuzma. And that is, I think, a deal that the Lakers would happily make depending on the draft capital. The only thing is they're going to have a lot of competition for the guy. He is locked up for a long time on a reasonable contract and plays a position that is obviously very important to teams that have title aspirations. He has won a championship before and is I think just also like a good dude to have on your team, like a good person to have on your team. And yeah, I would love to bring him back. We'll just have to see what the price looks like. But look, all of this, the giant disclaimer that should be like above my head here is, hey, by the way, it's super duper early here. D'Angelo Russell can't even be moved until, January 15th. Same goes for Rui Hachimura. You're a month away from any of these conversations having any real oomph to them right now. But it is a fun day to kind of take a look at the rest of the league and see what the Lakers might be capable of doing. I thought it was a good time, and others apparently thought it was a good time to maybe relay some information on what I've been hearing about the Lakers. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that. I did want to, really quickly touch on a couple notes from that piece. The Lakers do not want to trade Austin Reeves. So if they are trading Austin Reeves, they're getting an all-star, period. If they do move one of their young guys, or if they do move Rui Hachimura, they're looking for a starter/closer that they know can step in and help, like definitely help in those positions and in those spots. They are just barely over the luxury tax, and I think would like to get under it to reset their repeater. So whatever they send out over the course of the trade deadline, if they take back more than 1.2 million less than they currently have on their books, or that they send out, that gets them back under the luxury tax. So look for them to make a trade that doesn't like make them worse, but does take back a little bit less money to reset that repeater. And yeah, I think the macro takeaway here heading into slop season is that the Lakers don't feel like they desperately need to make a move, right? When they had Russell Westbrook, they had to trade him. Before they got Russell Westbrook, right? They felt like they needed a shot in the arm. In this case, though, the Lakers are playing good enough basketball. I think they're a championship contender with their current group and really like their current group. Especially, they want to see it all play together for another thing. And so when they have these conversations, they can push away from the table, and that gives you a real advantage compared to some of the teams that I mentioned, right? Toronto, right? They don't want to lose OG and or Trent for nothing like they did with Fred VanVleet. Chicago, right? It's clear at this point that they need to rebuild, and so on and so forth with basically everybody. So the other names that I listed: Jordan Clarkson, Bojan Bogdanovic, Alex Burks, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, Lonnie Walker, Gordon Hayward, Jeremy Grant, Malcolm Brogdon, Keldon Johnson, and Zach Collins were just some other names that I'll write about certainly soon. But with all of those guys and the guys that I actually wrote specifically about, they come from teams that are heading towards a rebuild and could use a couple extra assets for that rebuild. And I think the Lakers can take advantage of those situations by walking into those conversations saying, take it or leave it. All right, really quickly here before we get out of here, the Lakers played the San Antonio Spurs tonight. No real word as of yet as far as the availability of LeBron and of Anthony Davis. I think both are going to play. AD seemed to really enjoy playing against Wemby the other night. The Lakers, I think, collectively would like to get that ugly win behind them and kind of remind themselves and everybody, okay, this is what we're actually capable of. Jared Vanderbilt is seen as questionable and not doubtful, which I think is obviously a step in the right direction. Man, it would be nice to see him get and stay healthy. So if they have a decent assortment of their talent, they should be able to win going away. I do think they'll probably play with their food because that's what they do. But I do think in the end, they win this one by double digits. That it's a Spurs team that just is not very good. They have some confidence given what they were able to do to the Lakers at the end of last game. But I just it's just such a talent deficiency there. I think the Lakers should win this one pretty comfortably. If you are going to watch it, I hope you do check out the All Access Lakers guys, playback.tv/All Access Lakers. I might make an appearance depending on how the evening is going, but at the very least, you're going to watch the game with Raj and with Shub and with Rome, maybe Aaron for a little bit of it too. And it's always a blast. So yeah, I am going to get up out of here. Sorry for the shortish and somewhat rush show, but I have kids to take care of and a weekend to kick off. So until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's, and I will talk to you on Monday. Bye, everybody.